to round 15 here at Grand Prix Pittsburgh. Murray Bartholdi and Andrew Brown hanging out in the booth with you this round. Morgan McLaughlin on black-red aggro versus Zan Sayed on mono-red aggro. So here we go, kind of the red story that's been going on for the past couple of months here playing out in front of us.
Right, exactly. And both of these players sitting at 36 points. So they were not able to draw, and whoever wins this match is certainly a lock for the top 8 of this tournament.
Okay, so a lot on the line for both of these players here. Bomac Courier is going to get things started here for black-red aggro in the hands of Morgan. 2 cards already exiled underneath it, and a Soulscar Mage is going to follow things up here. Back over to Zan. Which deck do you like better in this matchup first game?
I definitely like the mono-red deck. It's generally a little bit lower to the ground, meaning it can play more cards. It can have those crucial double spell turns. And it's really tough for the black-red deck to kind of catch up with it as it has so many 4-mana spells in it.
Well, Shock here going to take care of that Soulscar Mage while we don't have anything to worry about as Morgan was tapped out. But no play here on 2 from Zan yet. Pass the turn back over to Morgan, so the Bomac Courier remains in play.
And Morgan McLaughlin, he actually went 12-4 at the last Pro Tour. He actually lost his win in him for the top 8.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Brutal.
It was pretty brutal to watch because I believe he was 11-1 at one point, and then he lost 3 in a row to miss the Pro Tour top 8.
That hurts. Well, he's obviously very good with the deck, making a deep run here at Pittsburgh and maybe clinching the top 8 if he manages to take down this match. There's an Abrade on a Goblin Chain Whirler, but it gives off a ping on Zan.
Yeah, this Bomac Courier looking to do a lot of work here. If Morgan can find some more inexpensive spells, this is really going to work to his favor because he can cash in that Bomac Courier for what looks like to be 4 cards right now. Well, 4 cards with an attack.
All right, we found our way to 4 mana here. We're going to kick things off with the Soulscar Mage. In comes the Mailman one more time, pinging Zan down to 15. Another card exiled underneath him. We're going to cycle here at the end of Morgan's turn.
Yeah, definitely cycling after getting attacked. Not exactly what Zan is looking for, and I'm definitely thinking that Morgan is going to pop this Mailman here.
All right, so Shock on the Bomac Courier. We are going to send those cards to the yard and get a brand new grip here.
Wow, that looked like a very powerful hand from Morgan there. I saw a Pianalar, a Scrap Heap Scrounger, just more things to keep the pressure on. But I will say, this Rekindling Phoenix poses a lot of threat, offense and defense-wise.
So Morgan was able to kind of get off to a quicker start playing some smaller creatures, but now we see the power that the decks have once they get to 4.
Exactly. Chandra, Glorybringer, Rekindling Phoenix, all just such powerful, high converted mana cost red cards.
And ones that, if you're playing red, kind of are really difficult for you to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Each of them kind of demanding a different threat, which really is why this red deck is so powerful. All of the cards just individually really strong.
All right, we've got a pair of Scrap Heap Scroungers here for Morgan.
Yeah, I definitely like this play from Morgan. It really sets up his next turn because these Scrap Heap Scroungers are pretty... they're not very important, so he can kind of just throw them away and try to trade for that Phoenix and eventually kill that egg.
All right, well, Hazoret is coming into play for Zan, and it is already being able to be turned sideways as Zan only has 1 card left in hand.
Yeah, this is definitely a different spot for Morgan as he is not the beatdown anymore. But I did see that he had a Chandra in hand, so that Chandra plus that Soulscar Mage going to be able to take out that Hazoret. Really important.
Yeah, the Soulscar Mage proving its worth not only in being an early drop with prowess, but distributing -1/-1 counters as well.
Yeah, really, really powerful. Champion of Wit's not the card you're looking for, Riley. Or
that would be a surprise.
I'm imagining that Riley is just calling me a Champion of Wits because I'm that smart.
Well, maybe you are.
He's shaking his head at me, continues to shake his head, and now is nodding. So I agree with you. Yeah, so it looks like Morgan's most likely going to play that Chandra on and then minus on the Hazoret to take care of that. And then I think he's pretty clear to just attack with everything.
All right, there's Chandra. And there we go. Shoot down the Hazoret. Being indestructible doesn't save you from a -4 fate.
Exactly.
Okay, in comes a team for Morgan.
Yeah, Chandra, Torch of Defiance, one of the reasons these red decks are just so powerful. It's a different permanent type that demands a different type of answer from all these decks. That's why Vraska's Contempt is one of the premier removal spells in Standard.
Okay, Zan taking a giant hit there, down to 7. Morgan at 11 life.
Yeah, it's crazy to just see the tempo of these games. Like, Zan attacked for 9. Morgan just attacked for 8. Just enormous chunks of life falling super fast from these players.
All right, we'll see if Zan wants to keep the pressure on here with that Rekindling Phoenix, or if it's got to stay back and play D.
Definitely not the best spot when the...
Not great versus a Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Exactly.
All right, well, it is not swinging in.
So Zan only with 2 cards in hand here because his Hazoret did actually attack last turn, so it's completely reasonable for him to have something like Lightning Strike, Abrade, or Shock.
How often are you kind of trying to calculate what exact sort of burn spells your opponent might have in hand?
Well, if it's 2 mana, it's most likely going to do 3 mana, and obviously if it's 1 mana, it's only going to do 2 damage. So you really just have to calculate like how much mana they possibly have. So with Zan right now, he ideally has 2 Lightning Strikes or 2 Abrades, which is theoretically 6 damage maximum.
All right, so we're going to knock Zan down to 5 there. Pia Nalar hanging out in Morgan's hand. And it looks like the Scroungers are going to hit the red zone here, attacking 4-6.
Yeah, I like this attack from Morgan because it really pushes Zan to block with the Phoenix and potentially block with the Soulscar Mage.
Pretty dangerous not to. And yes, indeed, the Soulscar Mage is going to go down. Down goes the Phoenix. In comes the Egg. And there's a Chain Whirler. Bye-bye, Egg. And Zan Sayed is going to scoop him up. Morgan McLaughlin takes game number 1 here in round 15 with the black-red aggro deck versus mono-red aggro.
Yeah, just seeing the versatility of the Chain Whirler there, you know, after that Phoenix blocked and the Egg came out, played perfectly into that post-combat Chain Whirler.
Okay, so now just kind of the question of how black-red and mono-red are able to pivot to deal with each other once we start consulting these sideboards.
Yeah, so I see both players with large amounts of copies of Chandra's Defeat. Morgan has 3 in his sideboard, and Zan has 4 in his sideboard. Outside of that, it really depends what both of these players want to do. I actually see 4 Bomat Courier in Zan's sideboard. Very interesting. Yeah, he's more of a bigger kind of red deck where he has Glorybringer, Chain Whirler, Hazoret. But then, after board, if he's on the play, he can just kind of transform into Little Red and play that Bomat Courier and get the pressure going.
Little Red.
Yeah, the littlest red.
I mean, he was previously sponsored by a gum playing Big Red, I think, earlier.
Oh.
Self high five.
Self high five. Yeah, so if Zan is on the play, I'm assuming he's going to bring in those 4 defeats and those 4 Bomat Couriers just to kind of like throw Morgan for a loop here. But on Morgan's side of the sideboard, he's got copies of Magma Spray, Unlicensed Disintegration, Cut to Ribbons, Doomfall, Chandra's Defeat. So I think on the draw, he's going to try and become kind of the slower deck, the more controlling deck. Like, he wants to be the one to react. He doesn't want to be the one to kind of put out the threats. So I'm assuming he'll take out cards like Scrap Heap Scrounger, maybe Kari Zev, maybe maybe those Bomat Couriers as well, and just kind of go more, I'm sitting back, I'm going to remove your threats, then I'm going to play the big cards like Chandra and Rekindling Phoenix.
All right, let's take a look at standings while players here are consulting their sideboards for game number 2. And Andrew's got a copy in front of him as well.
Right. So if we look at standings here, a lot of people at 36 points.
Wow.
But one thing that we do know is that 2 of these matches have drawn. So that is Jack Kiefer versus Paul Dean. They have both drawn to 37 points. And Zach Allen versus Oliver Tu. They have both drawn to 37 points as well. The number one player, Bram Thomas, has actually chosen to play with Roshan Epen. So whoever wins that match will come out into the top 8. And then there are 4 more matches below it. We have Morgan McLaughlin versus Zan Syed, Scott Matthews versus Ralph Patesh, Mike Sigris versus Michael Van Vallis, and Tyler Hill versus Brent Eady. And all of those players have a chance to make it. So we know that the top 4 are all safe. The middle 4 are, Jack Kiefer,
Right.
Paul Dean, Zach Allen, Oliver Tu, safe. Those players are currently into the top 8. And then from there, the winners of those other matches between Bram Thomas, Roshan Epen, one of them will make it. Morgan McLaughlin, Zan Syed, one of them will make it. And then down below, you kind of get into this tiebreaker mishmash where some of them have 70%, some of them have 67%. There's a kudzu.
We're just getting lots of surprise cards here.
I really appreciate that, Riley. The players in the 34-point range, it's really up in the air for them. It really depends on how the tiebreakers come out. They could either make it into the top 8 or they could be in 9th place cut off.
Wow. Okay, well, a lot riding on this round for plenty of players. Johnny and Danitha walking past us here in the booth. Some great cosplay here this weekend, too. But yeah, important stuff here in the last round of Swiss before our cut to the top 8. And you are watching one of those matches, as this is essentially a win-in in here for either Morgan McLaughlin or Zan Syed. Tail, as old as time, black red aggro, mono red aggro, or as old as a few months.
As old as a few months, exactly.
Okay, yeah. Which deck do you like better post sideboard?
It's really hard for me to tell. It really depends on how they sideboard. And, if Zan goes small and Morgan goes more controlling, I think I like Morgan's spot a little better. But, if Zan just kind of sticks to his main deck and only brings in like the 4-mana cards and the Chandra's Defeat, I think I like that a little better just because he's on the play and he'll have agency to play those powerful 4-mana cards first.
It's really interesting to me, those 4 Bomat Couriers in the sideboard for Zan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, do you think, just kind of wouldn't you expect them to be in the main deck?
Yeah, normally you would, but he's just trying to throw his opponents for a loop here, I guess. Because, if they really see that Soulscar Mage in Game 1, they're going to assume that he's a little red or something.
Right.
But then maybe in the second game, he turns into Big Red, and then in the last game, he becomes Little Red.
All right, well, here we go. Game number 2, Mono Red Aggro versus Black Red Aggro. Kari Zev here on 2 for Zan.
Yep, Kari Zev, definitely one of the best 2-drops you can play in the Red Mirror match because that first strike is so powerful against some of these tiny blockers.
Just an excellent card. And it's so excellent, we're going to play 2 of them. Thank goodness the legend rule has been updated.
Unfortunately, we may be seeing some Kari Zev on Ravagan Violence here.
Oh, no, she can't kill her own monkey. That's just sad.
I actually think she can, and she will. So
I actually think, Maria, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, Ether Sphere Harvester here for Zan. That's got to be a pretty good card in this matchup.
Oh, wow. Zan is actually not attacking and opting to just try and crew this Ether Sphere Harvester because, if Morgan opts to attack with this Kari Zev, he can just crew the Aether Sphere Harvester, give it lifelink, and just net 2 life instead of taking 1.
Also, Kari Zev doesn't have to kill her own monkey by her own hand.
I don't know how much of that went into his thought process, but it's completely reasonable for you to think that.
You never know. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
No worries.
Okay, Scrap Heap Scrounger here for Morgan.
Yeah, also by this play, this also makes me think that Zan kind of stayed bigger with his sideboarding, and he's not trying to be the aggressor here. Definitely anticipating some sort of big 4-mana spell here, or a double Lightning Strike turn.
All right, Scrap Heap Scrounger matched by Scrounger. It's going to hop in the Harvester here. And all right, it looks like Zan is putting his foot down on the gas a little bit here. The Harvester getting in along with Kari Zev and Ragavan coming along for the ride. And here we go. A braid on Morgan's Karizev.
Very nice turn here for Zan. That double spell coming in really handy, and he's going to get to attack for 6 and also gain 3 life.
You talk a lot about the importance of being able to double spell, not only in this matchup, red versus red, but in our control mirror that we saw the other round as well.
Exactly, yeah. In the control mirror, it's mostly about who can have the most lands, which will unlock the most spells per turn. And here in the mono-red matchup, since all these cards don't really cost very much, whoever can play them in the quickest succession will be ahead.
Chandra's defeat on this Karizev stems some of the bleeding for Morgan here.
Oh, wow, that was pretty interesting. So what happened there was Morgan allowed Zan to attack, but after the trigger, Zan used the Abrade, which actually got in an extra 2 points of damage with that Ragavan. Is it Ragavan or Ravagan?
Ragavan.
Ragavan.
Because he's like a little ragamuffin.
Is it Gavaran?
Is it Navagara?
No, it's Ragavan.
Oh, okay. All right, cut. Taking care of the Scrounger here, enabling Morgan to get in with his own.
Yeah, normally cut to ribbons on a scrap heap Scrounger, not the play you want to make every day, but given that Zan has only played Mountains this game, it's completely reasonable for Morgan to think that it is going to be really hard for Zan to actually bring this scrap heap Scrounger back from his graveyard. I'm pretty sure it's Gavaran.
Zataran.
Zataran.
Nice. All right, here we go. Phoenix, get in the car. Bird is driving. In comes the Ether Sphere Harvester. Spend an energy, give it lifelink. Met with an Abrade from Morgan.
Very good patience from Morgan to wait for Zan to use that energy, so future Aether Sphere Harvesters not as hungry with that energy and that lifelink.
No way for the Scrounger to come back yet for Zan either. In comes the Scrounger here for Morgan. 3 mana available. 2 cards left in hand.
But yeah, from the looks of it, the bird is the word here. This Rekindling Phoenix most likely going to take a lot of life points out of Morgan, as he just played a mountain and nothing else that turn.
All right, the bird gets in for 4. Karizev, number 2, hitting the table for Zan. Morgan McLaughlin, life total down to 11 to Zan's 17.
Yeah, from the looks of it, I can't really tell what's in each player's hand, but I'm assuming that Morgan just has a lot of lands in his hand.
Yeah, Morgan's cycling here, trying to find something. I mean, we had to do a little bit of work to get rid of that Rekindling Phoenix last game, which he was able to do using Goblin Chain Whirler, but it's sticking around for now.
Yeah, these cycling lands are just a little bit too slow for Morgan right now.
Scrap Heap in for another 3. Zan down to 14.
Yeah, with only 1 card in hand, I really like Zan's chances here, because this Phoenix plus this Karizev represents 7 damage, which will put Morgan to 4, which means that that Phoenix is lethal next turn in the air.
I think Morgan's got 2.
Oh, he's got 2 cards. Could be anything. Could it be a boat?
I got to admit, I was very confused when we were watching that Antiquity Sport match, and you're like, look at all those boats. Giant artifacts. I understand now. Both players, get a look at them there in their feature match area. Dancing guy, still dancing in the background. Let him be an inspiration to us all, or not. All right, here we go. Karizev and the Rekindling Phoenix with an attack. Response here from Morgan. Unlicensed Disintegration on the Phoenix.
I see. So this will take Zan down to 11, and Morgan will fall down to 8. And if Morgan can follow up with a Goblin Chain Whirler, that would be quite the turn for him, because that'll clear out the egg and free up an attack, sending Zan down to 7.
Okay, so the Phoenix goes down. Morgan takes a bit of a hit. There is a Chain Whirler from Zan. Will knock Morgan down to 7. back over. Does he have a way to deal with the 0-1?
Ooh, does he have 3 mana? 2 mana.
Okay, cycling. What can we find?
Another slow cycling card.
Nice.
You missed it the first time.
I did, actually.
Yeah, definitely Goblin Chainwhirler, the card that Morgan wants the most here. Oh,
Wow.
Chandra's Defeat. And a Magma Spray.
Okay.
Not bad, not bad.
That'll do it. In for another 3. We'll drop Zan down to 8. Zan now with 2 cards in hand, I believe. Taps 4 very quickly, and it's Hazoret. In they come.
Gets the Ragavan trigger, and that's all she wrote for this game.
All right, Zan Sayed ties things up here, 1 game apiece versus Morgan McLaughlin here in round 15 of Grand Prix Pittsburgh, the last round of Swiss before we cut to our top 8. So this match is a win and in.
Yeah, both these players definitely got to be feeling the pressure now. Game 3, right before the top 8, whoever wins gets in.
Oh.
Story as old as time.
And Morgan, you mentioned at the Pro Tour just narrowly missing out on a top 8.
Yeah.
So doesn't want to repeat that experience.
Yeah, definitely not.
Do you know if he was playing this deck in the Pro Tour?
No, at the Pro Tour he was playing Black-White Benalia.
Oh, okay. I like that deck a lot too. We saw it a little bit yesterday, but not a lot of it here today.
Yeah, I saw one pilot at the top tables when I was making my rounds earlier, but not as much as we, can finish this stretch of the GP. And now that Morgan's going to get to be on the play here, I definitely think he has a slight advantage. I talked about him going a little bigger. We saw that he brought in his unlicensed disintegration from the sideboard, so it's possible to think that he'll just not change much and just play his game rather than try to, counter whatever Zan's trying to do.
Zan, as we noted, also tried to keep things on the bigger end, not siding in stuff like the Bomat Courier, as we imagined, just because of the way that he was playing.
Yeah, exactly. Game. Yeah, the no Karizev attack on turn 3 really indicated that he was trying to play a longer game, and it worked out for him.
Yes, it did. All tied up here, heading into game number 3. Some of our top 8 has already been decided. We know some of the players who are heading in.
Yep, currently Jack Kiefer, Paul Dean, Zach Allen, and Oliver Tew are safe, and they are into the top 8. If we look at tiebreakers here, Morgan and Zan both have a tiebreaker of 0.67, and then there's 0.678 for Morgan and 0.673 for Zan.
So when you get to this, you've been a top-level player. How easy is it for you to parse this kind of information near the end of a tournament?
Well, all you really have to do is kind of think about which matches are being played, and then what are the possible outcomes out of that. So right now there are 4 players locked, but there are 5 matches going on. So since there are only 4 slots locked up and 4 slots under that, one person who wins is going to get knocked out, and that's when you look to tiebreakers.
Okay.
So let's say Tyler Hill, someone with the lowest tiebreakers of the 34 points, wins his match. But let's say that above him, Mike Segrist, something weird happens where a lot of his previous opponents lose and his tiebreakers go down, but he still wins. There's a possibility that he could get jumped.
Okay. All right, so a lot to be decided yet here in round number 15. Standard this weekend here in Pittsburgh. Up next weekend is going to be a Nationals tournament coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. We're going to be playing Standard and Draft, a split format tournament. And if you've played like 1 or 2 Grand Prix, you're probably qualified to go and play.
Yeah, lots of players qualified for Nationals. Just be sure to check your Planeswalker points.
Yep.
Pretty easy to access. Just type in your DCI number and you'll be able to see how many you got.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How many do you have?
I don't know. I was just like, should I put my DCI number in and just find out? I just can't just straight up type it in, though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You have to
go to the Wizards website.
Okay.
One of my favorite tools online is actually the calculator where you can see who you've played, what your win percentages against other people are. Oh, God,
really?
I love that stuff. Yeah, it's so great.
Who is your person that you've played a bunch of times and you just always lose?
Who do I just always lose to? I don't know, but someone I always beat though is Matt Nass. I believe I'm 5-0 lifetime against him.
Well, Matt Nass turns out he's super good. Just
yeah, he's a pretty
winning
good player.
Oh
yeah, Sam Party. I always lose to Sam Party.
Oh really?
Yeah, 1-3 or something like that.
Okay, so according to this, my yearly points are 354.
I think you need 500 to qualify for nationals.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
dang.
Don't quote me on that.
Do I get any points here for commentating?
I don't think so.
All right, well, here we go. Game number 3 here in round 15. Black-Red Aggro versus Mono-Red Aggro in the hands of Morgan McLaughlin and Zan Sayed. Dueling Scrap Heap Scroungers on the table.
Yeah, with Morgan on the play, this definitely favors him as we all know, Scrap Heap Scrounger cannot block.
And there is a Chain Whirler for Morgan. Best play on 3. In comes a Scrounger for another hit.
Yeah, Chain Whirler here, great offensive card and a great defensive card. That first strike really holding that Scrap Heap Scrounger at bay. Right here, I think Zan's just looking for a turn where he can play Soul Scar Mage followed by a Braid or Lightning Strike to get that Goblin Chain Whirler off the table because he really just wants to double spell here.
Taking a while here on Zan's turn to decide what to do. This game very important, obviously, for both players here, as it means getting into the top 8 if you have a win. All right, a Braid takes down the Chain Whirler. Scrap Heap Scrounger coming in for 3.
Not the worst turn from Zan. He definitely really wanted to get that Chain Whirler off the table so he could actually attack with his one-dimensional Scrap Heap Scrounger.
All right, we still have 1 red available for Zan, but it looks like the attack here is going to be good, and a Doomfall.
Oh, wow.
That Scrounger is going down.
Yeah, and since Doomfall exiles, Zan is not going to be able to bring that Scrap Heap Scrounger back from the graveyard.
Gone forever. Got in for a hit. Zan Sayed down to 13, Morgan 17. Here's a Hazoret from Zan.
Yeah, as we can see, though, Morgan only has 3 lands right now, and we've said it all weekend. These red decks really rely on getting to turn 4 to play those huge haymakers like Chandra, Rekindling Phoenix, and Hazoret.
All right, Scrounger number 2 here for Morgan. Zan drops down to 10.
Yeah, this could definitely be anybody's game. If Zan can empty his hand fast enough, then he can maybe unlock attacking with this Hazoret, but it could be a double-edged sword given the life totals.
Chain Whirler here for Zan, and Scrap Heap Scrounger of his own. All right, we are just hanging back. Passes back over to Morgan, who's missed out on a couple land drops, so here we go.
Here we go. I do see that he has an Unlicensed Disintegration in his hand as well.
Okay.
So this Hazoret on defense for a reason. Well, actually, Zan has 2 cards in his hand. Wow. Zan going down to 1 here.
Jeez. Unlicensed Disintegration takes down the Chain Whirler. Attack from both Scroungers.
Yeah, this is a really tough spot. I don't know what Zan can find here.
There is a Phoenix. Scrounger gets in because can't block. Back over to Morgan. Can he clinch this top 8? Here's Zan Sayed on 1 life.
Yeah, all Morgan needs is a Chain Whirler, another Unlicensed Disintegration.
Some kind of tap the top of his deck there. He might not have it in hand.
Yeah, Zan just kind of trying to represent a shock from his hand so that he can actually block with this Hazoret.
All right, in swing the Scroungers. There we go. There's a shock, and there's an unlicensed disintegration, and there is the handshake. Morgan McLaughlin into your top 8 there. Zan Sayed, great run for him, but head in hands. It is a tough loss to take for your winning into the top 8 here. But congratulations to Morgan. He's one of our top 8 players, kind of breathing a sigh of relief there at Grand Prix Pittsburgh, piloting this black-red aggro deck. Well, these two red decks, kind of the story if you want to play red.
Exactly.
Get to watch it play out a little bit here. And exciting stuff here in round 15.
Yeah, crazy games.
We've got some of our top 8 already decided. Some is still being played out behind us. And as we just saw there, one player making it into our top 8. So we do know that black-red aggro will be at least one of the decks we're going to be seeing in our top 8. We'll find out what other decks we might be seeing coming up after this. back to coverage of Grand Prix Pittsburgh. Murray Bartholdi and Andrew Brown hanging out with you, watching some Standard today. And we are in the last round of Swiss for the tournament. We've got some time walk magic for you before we hit our top 8 here from round number 15. So let's peek in. Mike Sigrist versus Mike Van Vals. Blue-black mid-range versus white-blue control. All right, what do you make of this, Andrew?
Yeah, so pre-board, I definitely like Mike in this situation.
Wait, which one?
I like Mike Sigrist in this situation because, you know, in game ones, the blue-black mid-range just has too many dead cards in it. It has cards like Fatal Push, Cast Down, maybe Moment of Craving, just cards you really don't want against a deck like Mike Sigrist, which has no legal targets.
All right, Search for Escanta is going to kick things off here for Mike Sigrist.
Yeah, let me just pull up Michael Van Vals' deck here.
Champion of Wits for Van Vals. Going to discard a couple of Essence Scatters, which do
not much here.
Literal nothing.
Actually, you know, the more I look at this deck list, I actually think he has a pretty good shot here. He has 2 main deck Argwell's Bloodfast, 2 Torrential Gearhulk, 2 the Scarab Gods, and 4 Champion of Wits. I think Champion of Wits is probably one of the most important cards in this matchup because it'll actually just let him discard all these Fatal Pushes, Essence Scatters that he's not going to want.
And we've talked about the Bloodfast a number of times this weekend. Just an excellent card for gaining card advantage multiple times a turn if you need it. And life not always something these players are too concerned with.
Exactly, and definitely not against Mike Sigrist's deck.
Oh,
Your
no.
life total could be won the entire game, and he could not even poke you to death.
Champion of Wits number 2 here for Van Vals. Let's draw a couple and discard.
Yeah, so looking at Michael Van Vals' deck list, he has 3 Fatal Push, 3 Essence Scatter, and 2 Cast Down, and those are the only dead cards in his deck.
Okay.
And this Champion of Wits has already discarded 2 of those Essence Scatters, so his 8 dead cards is now reduced to 6 dead cards. So I definitely like his chances more than normal in this matchup.
Seal Away is going to deal with one of these Champion of Wits. So Van Vals with 1 left is going to knock Sigrist down to 16 here. Champion of Wits beats.
Yeah, and something Mike Van Vals can actually do to his Champion of Wits is hit them with Cast Down. Because, you know, Mike is probably going to hit them with Settle the Wreckage or Seal Away, and Van Vals can actually respond by killing his own Champion of Wits to put it in the graveyard so he can eventually eternalize it.
All right, here's a Glint Sleeve Siphoner from Van Vals. Essence Scatter from Sigrist here. He does not want that card advantage on the table. But here we go.
And bam, there's that Bloodfast. One of the strongest cards in this matchup. If there was an advantage bar right now, I'd definitely swing it in Mike Van Vals' favor here.
And that was excellent, the Glint Sleeve Siphoner baiting out that counterspell from Sigrist. Nothing left to deal with the Bloodfast.
Yeah, I definitely love this line of play by Mike Van Vals. He's definitely baited Mike Sigrist with the appropriate card and then followed up with this awesome Bloodfast.
All right, it's going to get Blink of an Eye here from Mike Sigrist. A couple of disallows in hand from Sigrist as well.
Yeah, so Mike Van Vals got to be careful here to not get his Bloodfast disallowed, so he might try and bait it out with something else. I did see the Scarab God in his hand.
Ooh. Champion of Wits, meanwhile, continues to peck in there. We'll drop Sigrist down to 14.
Yeah, this is one of those blue-collar Champion of Wits, just getting in there a couple times. He works a 9 to 5. He's a good guy. Don't get him down.
Okay, let's see what he wants to do here. Looks like he's interested in making a zombie.
Oh, I like this.
This is great.
Yeah, I like this play a lot. Because this also slows down that Ascanta from flipping.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and exile that disallow, and in comes a 2/2 zombie for Mike Van Vals. And can you talk a little bit about why that play is so strong here?
Yeah, because, you know, it really puts Mike in a situation to do something, because Mike Van Vals has put on, like, a fair amount of pressure onto the board, and it's kind of forcing Mike to react with this Teferi. And now that this Teferi's out, I believe Mike Van Vals has a Vraska's Contempt along with that Arguel's Bloodfast, so he can bait out the counterspell with either of those spells, whichever one he deems more important at the time.
Yep, just 3 mana left up for Sigrist here. All right, both creatures at Teferi.
Yeah, and this Teferi is just pretty unprotected here. Mike Sigrist clearly representing some form of counterspell here, so just passing here is actually a pretty reasonable strategy.
All right, we're going to test the waters here first with the Bloodfast. And that is going to get disallowed.
And did he draw a Supreme Will? I think he did. So he can definitely fight back here with that Supreme Will.
All right, here's a big decision. And indeed, there it is, Supreme Will. The Bloodfast sticks. Teferi knocked it down to 1.
Yeah, this advantage bar is getting more and more in Mike Van Val's favor here.
Right, Search for Iskana is going to bin and negate. Teferi here has got a plus.
I think Mike Sigrist drew a seal away there. He definitely wanted something more like settle there.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to play a land, and then I think we're going to
definitely seal away this Champion of Wits. Or just to go. Yeah, I guess Mike is trying to represent Settle the Wreckage now.
All right, so Zombie, Champion of Wits in play yet. Teferi on to Search for Iskana for Mike Sigrist, and that Bloodfast in play for Mike Van Val's. Once again, both creatures at Teferi. We know about the seal away, but Mike Sigrist is going to let Teferi fall. And here's an activation of the Bloodfast.
Yep, this is just getting worse and worse for Mike Sigrist here.
And Vraska's Contempt in hand for Van Val's. He's had for a couple of turns now. Still there, didn't have to fire it off. There's Seal Away from Sigrist.
Sigrist might also want to use this Field of Ruin so that he can flip his Azcanta immediately.
Yeah, and this is something we've seen a number of times today too. Fumigate's going into the bin. And we're going to flip into the Sunken Ruin.
Yeah, but all of the pressure is still on Mike. He really needs to find some form of answer for this Bloodfast and this blue-collar zombie.
All right, we're just going to pass the turn back over to Mike. But we're going to draw a number of cards first.
Yeah, Mike Van Val's pretty thirsty here, activating that Arguel's Bloodfast numerous times. This might actually give Mike a window to use that Search for Azcanta to find something before Mike Van Val's can untap.
Sure. All right, well, we are just going to let him untap and draw.
Oh, wow, that was a Supreme Will. Very nice. Oh, not to mention, Mike Van Val's actually discarded that Never to Return with his Champion of Wits.
Okay.
Now that's what I call value.
Zombie in for 2. Sigrist down to 12.
It's not as flashy as, lose 2 with Bloodfast, lose 2 with Bloodfast, lose 2 with Bloodfast.
No.
It's just an honest way to get a nice little 2-for-1.
You don't need your 2-for-1s flash.
That's not even a 2-for-1. That's a 0-for-1. That's free. It's basically free.
Here's a Scarab God. 3 mana left up for Mike Van Val's.
I believe Mike Sigrist would probably think it would be unlikely for Mike Van Val's to actually have another counterspell here, given how normally you don't play too many Supreme Wills, but I do actually believe that Mike Van Val's has that in his hand currently.
Disallow here will, however, deal with it. If he has it in hand, he's not letting it go just yet.
So it looks like Mike Sigrist has to choose between a Teferi and a Castout here. Castout can deal with that Arguel's Bloodfast, while the Teferi can, make his board position a lot stronger.
Which one do you want to take?
I would most likely take the Teferi, just because it kind of represents more cards. Mike agrees with me. Good play, Mike.
Teferi into Sigrist's hand. So how do you feel about Supreme Will in this blue-black mid-range deck?
Yeah, like Reed was saying earlier, this deck is just super customizable. You can really play whatever kind of suite of counter spells, dig spells that you want. And Mike Van Vel is just opting to play the most flexible of them all, which is the Supreme Will. He also has copies of Doomfall as well, another very flexible card.
Here comes Teferi for Sigrist.
Kind of the hallmark of this deck is just flexibility in general. After looking at Mike Van Vel's hand, though, I do know that he has a Vraska's Contempt hiding in there somewhere.
Mike Sigrist playing a version of the blue-white control deck that doesn't have approach of the second sun. The only way we can get it done is with Teferi the slow way, decking your opponent, or Gideon. There's a single Gideon of the trials.
The single Gideon, yeah. Just get it done the old-fashioned way. Attack with Gideon 5 times. Call it a day. Wow, Mike Van Vel's hand is just stacked here. He's got so many options here. Yeah, he has a one of Liliana's Death Majesty in his deck. And I do remember that Scarab God getting countered, so I could definitely see him playing Liliana, reanimating the Scarab God, and then going to work with that.
Yeah, there's 3 disallows in Sigrist's graveyard. 1 is an exile.
I like the patience from Mike Van Vel's, waiting for Mike to tap out more before he goes for that Contempt on that Teferi. Because as we know, the counterspell in Mike's hand is Supreme Will, which can be paid for if Mike has an excess 3 mana. I do see a Gideon in Mike Sigrist's hand, which, funnily enough, is actually quite good on this board here. He can stop that zombie from attacking. But he also did draw a Teferi as well. So ton of options here for both Mikes.
Mike Party here in round 15. Last round of Swiss here before we cut to our top 8. Here's Teferi yet again for Mike Sigrist.
And keep in mind, this is it's nearly a win-in. It's the tiebreakers are super close. We don't know who will actually get in after these matches because 4 slots were locked up, but there were 5 matches playing for it. So one person is definitely going to be disappointed with an X2-1 record.
Yeah. Vraska's Contempt takes care of that second Teferi from Mike Sigrist. And we'll go back over to Mike Van Val's. This is a time walk match previously recorded. But we're live.
We are live.
Zombie gets in for another 2. This zombie has been doing work this game. Sigrist falls to 8.
That's what I'm saying. It's just the regular blue-collar honest zombie. He likes Dolly Parton. He enjoys a nice...
Man, you're a monster if you don't like Dolly Parton. And a zombie is a monster, so maybe I should rephrase that.
Yeah, that was poorly said, Maria. Yeah, I think Mike Van Val is just kind of content to sit here with his zombie and this Argwell's Bloodfast, just getting him a crazy amount of card advantage.
All right, so Bloodfast drawing Mike Van Val's more cards. All the damage that has been dealt to his life so far this round has been self-inflicted through the Bloodfast.
It would be pretty funny if Mike Sigrist resolved the Gideon and then just attacked him to death.
I mean, I would like to see it. And you know, we've been talking a little bit about the one-ofs that these players have in their decks, and this one-of Gideon, it's always interesting to me when you see that just one copy of a card in lists. And these kinds of decks can do that just because they have so many ways to draw their cards.
Yeah, I think Search Res Canta is one of the main reasons you can play all these really cute and sweet one-ofs in most of these control decks.
Pull from Tomorrow here for Sigrist.
I believe that is for 5.
Indeed, he will draw 5 cards here. And, you know, we saw Sigrist playing this deck versus an Esper control deck where he drew, you see the one draw in his record near the top of the screen, a couple of rounds ago, and it was quite a lengthy game. In fact, we went to time, and it was a draw.
We did go to time.
But here you're seeing a blue-black mid-range also put up one heck of a fight.
Yeah. Both of these decks very capable of going into the long game. This Arguel's Bloodfast really carrying Mike Van Valls to go punch for punch with Mike Sigrist here, because they're both playing these enormous draw spells like Arguel's Bloodfast and Pull from Tomorrow.
Commit to memory there, the draw for Mike Van Valls.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
He might be able to free one of his Sealaways from... free one of these Champion Wits from the Sealaways here.
Little zombie that could gets in for another 2. Sigrist goes down to 6. Van Valls has done a number of damage to himself, currently sitting at 10. And here is a Liliana Death's Majesty for Van Valls.
Likely will be met by a counterspell from Mike Sigrist, but it'll be interesting to see which one, because I think he only has an Essence Scatter, a Syncopate, and maybe a Disallow. And yeah, you mentioned it earlier, Mike Sigrist only at 6 life, and I believe all of the damage has been done by one 2/2 zombie and a single uneternalized Champion of Wits.
Yes. Okay, so Liliana here is good. Gets back the Scarab God.
Very powerful here. Mike also has the mana to activate the Scarab God as well. I'm unsure if he has any creatures in his graveyard.
Doesn't look like it from here.
Yeah, I think they are all underneath Sealaways. Come seal away, come seal away, come seal away with me.
Mike. Our record will be available after this Pro Tour, where we just cover sticks.
Well, I do love singing magical songs, and you know, within R&D, it's a tough crowd. Not a lot of them know all these awesome songs by the Sticks. So
the Sticks. Oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed.
Do you find yourself singing in the pit and then nobody will join you?
Very often. Very often.
So sad.
My favorite song is singing Cruel Ultimatum to the sound of Smooth Operator. It's a cruel ultimatum.
I like that one.
A cruel ultimatum. More songs available by request on Twitter. Follow me at MerkLurker. Merk_lurker.
So now we know why this Scarab God was allowed to come back from the dead. Fumigate is going to bring Sigrist back up to 8 life. Zombie token lost in the fumigation process as well.
The fumigation process. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw the card Fumigate, it made me very, very sad as all those cute little gremlin boys were dying.
Right. I believe they are grubs or... I forget.
Baby ones, even sadder.
Yeah, so Mike Van Valls here with a ton of options. I think he's just going to keep drinking that Arguel's Bloodfast. And it's even possible for him to go down to 4 life here and actually turn it into a land, which he can just kind of use and protect his creatures from exile. Because as we've seen over the weekend, the Temple of Aklazot's being used to prevent all these exile effects, very important.
All right, here's a commit from Mike Sigrist.
I believe the target of that is currently the Liliana. Mike Van Valls with his other 2 counter spells in his hand right now. He has a commit of his own and a Supreme Will that he's been holding on to for a while.
So he's going to let that Liliana get tucked back into his library. Another Scarab God hanging out in his hand, a bunch of other cards, and the patience from Mike Van Valls is palpable. We've got just seems like everything to work with, and yet again, so does Mike Sigrist. Champion of Wits, will it stick?
I think so.
Yep, here it goes.
I think Mike Sigrist is kind of at the point where he isn't really in trouble from these 2 power creatures because his hand is so full, and he has like a Settle the Wreckage. He has a Search for Azcanta flip, so he has a ton of options and a ton of things to do. Oh, wow. Here we go. Mike Van Val's with the Field of Ruin on the opposing Azcanta the Sunken Ruin here.
The number of times we've seen Field of Ruin take down Azcanta the Sunken Ruin has been quite a lot, and it's always been a very, very important play.
Yeah, definitely. When we were making Ixalan, we wanted to add some safeguards to the format if in case there were those double-face lands wreaking too much havoc on Standard. Essentially, just like we drew it up.
Well done.
Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks.
I wish we could see Spires of Araska.
Me too. Spires of Araska, that is the...
That's the
land...
Is it the Mazavith?
That's the Mazavith land, right. Fun story, Crawl Space was almost in Dominaria the set.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was almost in the set, but we exchanged it for Dampening Sphere. And I made a deck with Crawl Space and Spires of Araska. So it was essentially a Mazavith / You Can't Attack Me deck.
Wow.
Which wasn't necessarily the most fun thing, so we ended up taking Crawl Space out of the set.
Oh, boy. Crawl Space, if you don't know, 3 generic artifact, no more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. That's rude.
And Spires of Araska, not legendary, so you can D-up with multiple Mazaviths and make your opponent have a great time. But we didn't do that.
That sounds terrible.
We didn't do that.
Well, thank you, Andrew's coworkers, for stopping that madness.
We have a lot of mad ideas, but it's important for us to kind of test them and then prove if they're awesome or, in Crawl Space's case, not very awesome.
Mike Sigrist has managed to stick Search for Azcanta after the other one got Field of Ruined. So this will be the front side here. Van Val's down to 4 life, by the way. We have transformed the Bloodfast into the Temple of Akhlazotz.
All of this damage, I'll remind everybody, self-inflicted.
100%. Champion of Wits. Let's swing in.
Yeah. Putting Mike to the test here. If he goes for the Seal Away, it's a very easy activation from the Temple of Akhlazotz to just eat this Champion of Wits, put it in the graveyard, and gain a life. Get him out of Gideon range. 1 attack.
Yeah, that's true. But it's so much mana, so many cards in these players' hands. I mean, you've played these kinds of decks before at major tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
How much mental energy does it take to play? Like, these games have been grueling.
Yeah, it's really tough. I can definitely sympathize with Mike Sigrist and Mike Van Val's here. Just like slogging through so many of these long matches is really, really tough and really taxing. One of the strategies I use on the outside is after every match, I would just walk outside for as long and stay outside for as long as I could.
Yeah. Some fresh air.
Yeah, fresh air, talking with your friends, clear up your mind. That's exactly what you want to do.
And yes, just like you said, Temple of Akhlazotz is going to sacrifice that Champion of Wits. Mike Van Val's gains life back up to 5, and now it's in his graveyard, which is a fine place for a Champion of Wits to be.
Exactly. Maybe even its preferred place to be.
Yeah. Until it comes back to seek glory as a 4/4. All right, well, we see that Gideon pulled to the front of Sigrist's hand.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if he actually goes for it because, yeah, I don't know here. Time is definitely ticking down on these players. We are pretty below time on the round clock, so I'm not sure exactly where these players are.
We're getting a time on this, just to give you some context, as this is a pre-recorded match. All right, so it sounds like we have this was about 25 minutes remaining in the round.
Right. So still some more Magic to play with this match. And I will remind everybody, it is 0-0. This is still game 1 of this match. Oh, here we go. This is exactly what Mike Van Valls wants. He wants a Doomfall, kind of assess where he is, and then he can make a decision after that.
Okay, we'll see what Mike Sigrist has to say about this Doomfall here.
Right. And since this is essentially a win-and-in, barring tiebreakers, I think whoever wins this game is just going to win the match. So we're back to one-game matches.
Wow. All right, in the hall here, they are about getting ready, by the way, to announce the top 8. So when they do, we will mute our microphones, so we won't give you any spoilers at home.
Definitely no spoilers.
But we will make an announcement shortly. So this is still round 15, by the way. Last round of Swiss after this will be our top 8.
I see in chat everybody's really liking these R&D stories. As more cards come up during the top 8 match, I'll try and recall some of these awesome things that we have countered and or bad ideas we had in the past.
I love hearing about it. You know, it's so interesting to find out how these cards got made. All right, we're gonna mute our microphones for the top 8 announcement. Okay, and we are back. The top 8 has been announced in the room. We are keeping the spoiler free on the broadcast for you at the current moment as we watch this game here in round number 15 and get prepared for the top 8 behind us in the feature match area.
Yeah, all the players moving over to the top 8 area, but let's focus back in on this epic match between Mike Sigrist and Mike Van Valls. As I said earlier, this game likely to determine who actually made the top 8.
Right.
Because of timing restrictions and how far along these players are into the round, this game is going to decide it all.
All right, here's a Torrential Gear Hulk from Mike Van Valls. So a pretty big baddie down on the battlefield here.
Pretty easy use of an Essence Scatter here from Mike. It's definitely his worst counterspell in the matchup, so he's going to try and use it every single time. And that's another thing to keep in mind in some of these longer matchups. You got to evaluate the strength of your cards and like how exactly you want to use them. So, for example, Essence Scatter not going to have too many targets in this blue-black deck, while Disallow, as a hard counter, is just generally going to be more useful. You're not really trading the efficiency of Essence Scatter with the catch-allness of the Disallow.
We've seen Mike Sigrist be very careful about partitioning out his mana before casting his spells as well to make sure he's doing everything the way that he wants to do it. And in fact, what he wants to do here is Syncopate.
Yeah, this is putting Mike Van Valls in a pretty tough spot because he actually really wants his Torrential Gear Hulk to go to the graveyard.
Right. All right, well, it is going to head into exile. Syncopate's exile clause here, super important when you're playing a card like the Scarab God.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we are going back over to Mike Van Valls.
I did see that he did draw a Field of Ruin.
Oh, here we go.
Which is a pretty important get on this Azcanta the Sunken Ruin.
Mike here
deciding whether to use his Azcanta or just float mana.
Yep, he's just going to let it go down. Grabs a Plains out of his pretty thin deck.
Yeah, both players' decks getting pretty small here. And like that earlier control mirror, it's you kind of get to that spot where you're going to count the copies of cards in your opponent's graveyard. So like Mike Van Vels can kind of assume that Mike Segrist has 4 disallows in his deck and some amount of negates, so he can just start counting them in the graveyard just to kind of extrapolate on which cards he'll actually have to play against.
How many disallows has Segrist used? At least 3. It might be 4.
Graveyard, but I'm unsure overall.
Mike Van Vels here. Tapping 5. Looks like Liliana is going to try and come to the party.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mike Segrist can just let this resolve. He's not really in a rush to do anything.
Counts out Van Vels' mana. We've seen this a number of times. Oh, dear old Syncopate.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. With Mike Segrist counting Mike Van Vels' mana like that, he pretty much telegraphs that he has a Syncopate in his hand. It's kind of like that classic thing when you're playing Modern. Your blue opponent draws, looks at their graveyard,
yeah,
looks at their hand. Oh, I'm pretty sure you just drew Snapcaster Mage. Same thing in Standard when the control player has 6 open mana and is constantly looking at their graveyard.
It'd be pretty sick, though, if he didn't even have Syncopate and he just keeps counting. It was just all lands in hand.
Well, I would imagine if you are playing a Win-It-In and you're playing a control mirror where you have to play really fast, the the equity for gaming your opponent, very low here.
Cast out here is the play from Segrist.
Likely targeting this Liliana here.
And a Glint Sleeve Siphoner hits the table for Mike Van Vels.
Yeah, Mike Segrist got a ton of enchantments. We got a ton of Mikes. We got a ton of cards in hand. Ton of lands. We are Mike flooded here.
Yeah, lots has been going on this game. It has been a battle for the ages here. And we've seen Segrist involved now on camera in 2 such battles.
So we are getting information that we can actually talk about who is in the top 8 except for the winner of this match. I'm going to go receive the information right now.
All right, Glint Sleeve Siphoner here is getting in, but Settle the Wreckage will deal with it quite nicely. So we are not going to spoil the outcome of this match for you, but we're going to announce the top 8 except for this match's winner.
Would you like to do the honors?
Okay. All right, in first place, Bram Thomas on 40 points. Congratulations to him into the top 8. Morgan McLaughlin is in second on 39 points. Saw him playing earlier this round in 15. Congratulations to him. Missed out on a Pro Tour top 8 recently, so pretty big deal for him to make this one, I'm sure. Scott Matthews coming in at third on 39 points. Jack Kiefer on 37 is in fourth place.
Very awesome to see Jack Kiefer make the top 8 of this tournament. I'm really rooting for him.
Yeah, great player, 16 years old. Congratulations to him. Another player we saw plenty of already this weekend, Zach Allen, is in at 5th place on 37 points. Oliver Tew in the top 8, as you suggested, in 6th place on 37 points as well. And Paul Dean into the top 8 on 37 points. And whoever comes out on top in this match.
We will also note that there is another player on 37 match points who did not make the top 8, Tyler Hill.
Tyler Hill. Tough beats there, Tyler.
Yeah, he
but
lost.
A great tournament.
Yeah, he lost by 0.1 tiebreaker percentage points.
Oh.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
So razor thin the margin can be so many times when we're cutting to top 8 here. We're going to check on the decks as part of the top 8 coming up after this round. So we can have a look at some of the matchups. Poll from tomorrow here from Sigrist.
I believe this is a poll for 5. 5 and 4 have definitely been his kind of go-to numbers in these, longer matchups.
And that's like a tricky road to walk too. How many mana do I need to have available for all of my counter spells?
Exactly.
Also, getting a little dangerous here. How many cards is that? Not many.
Sub 10, I think. But like that last control mirror match, it looks like both players have access to a commit to memory in their graveyard. So they do have the option to prolong this game if either of them see fit, and it resolves.
This looking like it might be a best of one situation for these players here. We don't have the round clock going currently on your screen as this is a pre-recorded time walk match, but keep in mind that it was going at the time. And quite a while ago, we were at about 25 to 30 minutes remaining.
Yeah. Nice start from Mike Van Valls here. He's using his last copy of Doomfall, but I really like this as once he sees Mike Sigrist's hand, or if he starts a fight over this, he can really kind of sculpt how he wants to go about the next couple turns. And Mike Sigrist counting Mike Van Valls' mana. Oh, wow, he lets it resolve.
All right, here we go. Take a look at what I've got going on. We've got that Gideon that's been there for about 10,000 years, which seems about right for somebody like Gideon. Cast out, seal away, essence scatter, settle the wreckage, and that syncopate. By the way, we will bring you the top 8 once it's ready to go. They are still getting prepared behind us, though, so don't worry, we won't be holding off on that.
Yeah, they have to fill out their very important top 8 player profiles.
I love reading the player profiles.
Oh my god, me too. They're so great.
Get to learn little tidbits about the players who made our top 8 here.
Yeah, so this this game going super long, but I still really can't predict a winner here because both players' hands are so big, their decks are so thin, and the margin for who's ahead is also just razor thin.
We saw Mike Sigrist with this white-blue control deck playing versus an Esper control deck earlier today that ended in a draw after one game. Or I shouldn't even say after one game, as it didn't end.
One game did not conclude, and it was a draw.
And blue-black mid-range, turns out, can go the distance just as well.
Exactly.
Glint Sleeve Siphoner once again for Mike Van Valls. We've got all 4 seal-aways on the battlefield for Sigrist. You know what's interesting? You were talking to me about Cleansing Nova coming up from M19.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe in some of these mid-range matchups where there are just so many enchantments on your opponent's side of the battlefield, like Cast Out, Seal Away, Ixalan's Binding, Thopter Arrest, so many of these cards get played, Cleansing Nova picks them all up.
That would be pretty exciting right about now.
Maria, I'll also have to inform you that Cleansing Nova can destroy all of the enchantments on your Boggle.
All right, I hate it. Burn it.
It's important for us to print safeguards and formats, so strategies such as Boggles do not go uncontested.
Don't worry, that card costs like 5 mana. You're already dead.
You've heard it here first. You're already dead. I don't exactly know how to say that in Japanese. For those of you who get that,
High five.
high five.
All right, well, Glint Sleeve Siphoner, here we go yet again for Van Valls.
Yeah, I think it's actually possible for Mike Sigrist just to run Mike Van Valls out of cards. Just like out of threats, like out of ways to win the game, because every single card in Mike Sigrist's deck is just bent on protecting himself.
No slip-ups from either player as far as I can tell from what we've experienced this game, too.
Yeah, I really like this. Just tight technical play all around. Ooh, Mike drew his final disallow, I think.
Oh, there it is. Yep, disallow number 4 in hand.
Yeah, so he has that 1-2 punch combo of the disallow and the syncopate. But he does eat this hit from this Glensleeve Siphoner, going down to 4 life. Mike Van Val's hand right now is pretty nice. He has 2 Scarab Gods, a Torrential Gearhulk, I believe a Vraska's Contempt. He's got a lot going on, definitely. And he still has that commit to memory.
All right, there's a cast out. Van Val says, sure, my other creatures are pretty good. All right, life total is tied at 4. This is getting very tight here.
Yes, quite the marathon here.
Thanks, everybody, for sticking with us all day today. Top 8 after this round. Down to the wire in this game as well.
Oh, wow. It looks like Mike is flashing back his commit memory.
Oh, boy.
I think Mike Van Val's may have to try and commit back, but as we do know, Mike Sigrist does have that disallow in his hand. So for rules clarification, part of the cost of casting an Aftermath spell is actually exiling it. So when Mike Van Val goes for this commit memory, it is going to attempt to put the spell second from the top, but since it doesn't exist, it doesn't happen and is countered instead.
Oh, okay. Okay, count them out.
Mike still heavily telegraphing that he has the syncopate.
All right, first up is disallow.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Mike, I don't think there's much he can do here because his only counter spells are that Supreme Will.
Oh.
So Mike Van Val's here might want to go for a Torrential Gearhulk, given that he sees all 4 disallows have been used from Mike Sigrist.
2 cards left in Sigrist's library, and here's the Gearhulk. See if we can flash something back here to help. But there's an Essence Scatter from Sigrist.
Yeah, Siggy here with just all the answers. And unfortunate for Mike Van Val's too, he's sandbagged the Scarab God for so long, and now he's just going to have to shuffle it back into his library and hope for a better 7.
There's that Supreme Will.
Forcing Mike Sigrist to pay 3 mana, which he very happily will.
Might as well.
And I believe this is all during Mike Sigrist's first main phase, so while we're shuffling up and going back into the game.
I'm having flashbacks, Andrew.
As you should, because this is very similar to our other Control Mirror match.
Yeah, interesting. It's like, get that Supreme Will out of my hand, into the yard, but I can put it back. Oh, boy.
Bit of a pause there. You all right?
I'll make it. I'll make it.
Okay.
Oh, commit to memory. Why? We were so close.
Yeah, we were theoretically pretty close.
All right, so graveyards have been shuffled back in, hands have been shuffled back in. We spin the wheel, a new 7 for both players.
After kind of skimming over both players' hands, both of them are quite powerful. Mike with a ton of counter spells and Siggy with a ton of counter spells.
Yes.
And Mike Van Val is here with a good mix of spells removal and discard because he still has that Doomfall in there, which might be one of the most powerful cards in the matchup right now.
All right, Champion of Wits here for Van Val's. If you're having some deja vu, it's because we've been here before.
Yep, we've been here before, but I believe both players can kind of get out of it here. Yeah, this Doomfall, great start to Mike Van Val's turn here. He definitely wants to see what's going on, try to clear the way for any of his awesome spells. Mike shows him a hand of 2 disallows, settle, fumigate, pull from tomorrow, syncopate, and an irrigated farmland.
Whoever comes out on top in this match is our final player that we did not announce yet for our top 8 here. Once again, we are in the business of counting our libraries. We had to exile that commit to memory, by the way, so.
Yep, no more commit to memory shenanigans from Mike Segrist, but there are potential shenanigans commit to memory for Mike Van Val's here.
He also has one. Okay, Arguel's Bloodfast. This was in play for quite a long time early in the game, about 10,000 years ago, and that's how Mike Van Val's life total is currently at 4.
All of the damage self-inflicted, but on his next turn it will flip and he'll be able to kind of gain that life back.
Mike Segrist's win conditions in this deck, it's what we call a little bit of a win conditionless version of white-blue control, being 1 copy of Gideon that can attack, and Teferi, which is able to help mill your opponent while keeping yourself safe.
Searcher's Canta.
Jinx.
Ugh. You win.
You owe me a LaCroix.
I'm more of a Talking Rain kind of guy.
Oh, yes, Talking Rain, the Seattle version of LaCroix. Just a bizarre name for a drink. And I was like, why is it named that? And somebody said,
LaCroix is not a bizarre name for a drink?
It's like a river. It's a river in Minnesota.
In where?
Minnesota.
Exactly.
But Talking Rain, I was like, what does this even mean? There's like, oh, because it has bubbles, it sounds like it's talking.
Anyways,
we're hitting the fast forward button on this. Pew.
Yep. MVV here. I'll abbreviate Mike Van Val's. Flashing back that Champion of Wits, just trying to find more action to get Mike Segrist down to 0, because he's been at a precarious life total for so long, right?
Right.
Because I remember the first 16 damage that Mike Segrist took were from like 2 2s and 2 1s. And again, both players feverishly counting each other's libraries.
Yeah, this one is going to come down to time, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
We are still in game number 1. This was from round 15, previously recorded. All right, and it sounds like our players are actually shuffling up for our top 8. So we're going to let you in on what happened here. What actually happened is they did end up going to extra turns, and Mike Segrist ended up winning by concession because he had more cards in his library.
Very, very awkward situation for both players. But yeah, it ended up that Mike had more cards in his library because, Siggy had more cards in his library because
Segrist.
Mike Van Val's was using those draw spells like you saw with that Glimmer of Genius and flashing back that Champion of Wits.
So quite a long game. That was the result in the end. Debate starts right after this.